Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. Hope you're all doing very well today. This video, I want to make a Hall of Fame case for Dwight Evans. And I am biased. I did see Dwight Evans play, at least I saw his second half of his career, and he was one of my all-time favorite players on and off the field. And I'll tell you why off the field after I get through with this article. This is actually his rookie. It's in the 1973 high number series, and it is kind of plain Jane, but there's something still kind of interesting about it, and I don't know what that is, um, because it doesn't really have a great design. The 1973 Topps baseball set is one that I used to really make fun of quite a bit, and it always reminded me of Space 1999. And for somebody who grew up in Red Sox Nation, in the heart of Red Sox Nation, and saw Dwight Evans play, I really didn't have much of a problem with the $30 price tag of this card. The design is it's a little bland for a lot of people. The Mike Schmidt rookie is also in the set, and it looks a lot like this right here. And I actually just did pick up a Mike Schmidt rookie probably a couple months ago, and I always wanted Mike Schmidt's rookie, not because of the way it looked, but because it's Mike Schmidt, and he'll probably get a video at some point. That was always a goal of mine as a kid to grab a card of Mike Schmidt, essentially his rookie card. So the other card that I do have of Dwight Evans is the 1974. And again, I'm not a big fan of this. I think it's a very lazy design on Topps' part. I have like two of these 74s, the Dwight Evans second year and then Mike Schmidt second year as well, because it's Mike Schmidt. So I'll show you the back of this. And I also have a 1975 Topps Dwight Evans as well, but that's actually going to be in a separate video because there's something about that card that I want you guys to check out. And so that's going to be a completely different video. And I'm probably not going to be talking a whole lot about Dwight Evans in that video, although it is a Dwight Evans card. But today, what I thought I would do is kind of share my own thoughts about Dwight Evans. And I found a really neat article on him and his career, and why not just myself, but other people think that Dwight Evans is long overdue for Hall of Fame consideration. So here we go. This is from fangraphs.com. Underappreciated in his time, Dwight Evans deserves Hall of Fame consideration by Jay Jaffe, November 19th, 2019. An underappreciated cornerstone of Boston's 1970s and 80s contenders, Dwight Evans reached the majors 2 years ahead of outfield mates Fred Lynn and Jim Rice, both of whom would win MVP awards and spend far more time in the limelight. Durable and defensively adept, traits that pair could rarely combine. Evans outlasted both, spending the first 19 of his 20 seasons, 1972 to 1991, with the Red Sox while helping the team to 4 division titles and 2 pennants. Though merely an above-average hitter in the first half of his career, Dewey developed into a dependable slugger with a keen batting eye, totaling 11 seasons with at least 20 homers and 6 seasons with at least 90 walks, 3 of which led the league. An outstanding defender as well, he combined excellent range with cannon-like arm while playing Fenway Park's difficult, oddly configured right field. While Evans won 8 Gold Gloves, further recognition was harder to come by. He made just 3 All-Star teams and never got a first-place vote for MVP, let alone win one. He did have third and fourth-place finishes. Bill James rated him as the game's top right fielder in his 1982 and 1983 baseball abstracts, but had advanced statistics been more persuasive, Evans' high on base percentages defensive value would have generated greater appreciation. 8 times he was worth at least 4.0 WAR, and at best in 1981 and 1982 he was one of the game's 5 most valuable players. Yet when he became eligible for election to the Hall of Fame, he lasted just 3 years on the BBWAA ballot, topping 10%. Only in 1998, his second year of eligibility, bypassed for both the 2014 expansion era committee ballot and the 18 modern baseball era committee ballot. He's finally getting another chance in front of the voters. Though born in 1951 in Santa Monica, California, Evans spent his early years living in Hawaii, and he didn't play baseball until his family returned stateside to the Los Angeles suburb of Northridge when he was 9. While he starred in Little League, he didn't make his high school's junior varsity team, but he persisted and not only made the varsity in his junior year, but the San Fernando Valley's League All Valley team as well. He won league MVP honors as a senior. On the recommendation of Red Sox scout Joe Stevenson, he was chosen in the 5th round of the 1969 amateur draft. Evans made solid progress up the Red Sox chain, most notably winning the International League MVP honors for a 300, 409, 482 performance with 17 homers and 95 RBI as a 20-year-old in 1972. He joined the big club that September, playing mainly left field, while Kyle Yastrzemski shifted to first base. His lone appearance in right field came in his debut on September 16th, when he pitch ran for Reggie Smith and took his first plate appearance while batting out a turn in what was at that point a 9-0 rout over the Indians. Red Sox manager Eddie Casco had replaced the lineup's top 5 batters within the span of half an inning, hence some confusion. Evans started the Red Sox last 16 games and hit for a 117 OPS plus, but the team's 85-70 record fell half a game short of the Tigers' 86-70 in an AL East race marred by a failure to reschedule games wiped out by the players' strike in April, which left teams with unequal numbers of games. The Red Sox opened up right field for Evans by keeping Yastrzemski at first base, shifting Smith to center field, where he'd start from 1967 to 1971, and Tommy Harper from center to left field. He struggled as a rookie, 223, 320, 383, 10 home runs, 0.9 WAR, but improved significantly in 1974. 281, 335, 421, emerging as a standout defender. Total zone estimates his defensive work at 23 runs above average, pushing his total contribution to 4.5 WAR. Rice, the team's first round pick in 1971, and Lynn, their second round pick in 1973, both arrived late in 1974 and took over full-time jobs the following spring. The trio, all 22 or 23 years old, combined for 15.5 WAR while helping the Red Sox to 95 wins and their first AL East title. Lynn, the American League Rookie of the Year and MVP, led the team with 7.4 WAR. Evans, who hit 274, 353, 456 with 10 homers, a 120 OPS plus, and plus 24 defense, was second with 5.1 despite being limited to 128 games. Despite losing Rice to a broken left hand in late September, the Red Sox bumped off the three-time defending champion A's in the American League Championship Series, but lost a classic seven-game World Series to the Reds. Evans hit 292, 393, 542, highlighted by a game-tying two-run homer off Raleigh Eastwick in the top of the ninth inning of Game 3, though the Sox lost in 10, and a game-tying two-run triple off Fred Norman in Game 4, keying a five-run rally in Boston's win. His most notable moment was his spectacular running leap catch to rob Joe Morgan of a potential two-run homer in the 11th inning of Game 6, after which he threw wildly but chased down to double Ken Griffey off first base. Carlton Fisk's famous home run off the left field foul pole won it for the Red Sox in the 12th. Evans led off the eighth inning of Game 7, which was tied 3-3 with a walk, but was erased when Rick Burleson grounded into a double play. He would be the last base runner of Boston's season. Morgan's RBI single broke the tie in the top of the ninth, and the Red Sox went down in order. From 1976 to 1980, Williams hit a combined 260, 347, 464 for a 116 OPS plus, averaging 19 homers and 3.1 WAR. He won his first Gold Glove in 1976 while leading the American League right fielders with 15 assists for the second straight season, but he dipped to a 109 OPS plus, his lowest mark since 1973, though he hit for a 128 OPS plus in 1977. A torn MCL in his right knee limited him to 73 games and required season-ending surgery. In 1978, he hit a career-high 24 home runs and made his first All-Star team on the strength of a strong first half: 286, 386, 523, 16 homers, but a prolonged second half slump: 203, 275, 364, 8 home runs, exacerbated by an August 28th beating by Mariners' Mike Perrott, depressed his final numbers and played a part in the Red Sox blowing a 14-game lead over the Yankees. 1 week after the beating, which concussed him, Evans made two errors on fly balls and a loss to the Orioles. As the Athletics' Peter Gammons recalled, after the game, I asked him if he was still having a headache or vision issues from the beatings. "I don't know why you're going there," he responded, clearly annoyed by my question. He denied that was just the way it was back then. In mid-1980, after a wrenched first half, 194, 278, 335, that found him confined to platoon duty, the 28-year-old Evans, who since the beating had been prone to stepping in the bucket and in his own account had about 300 batting stances, shored up his swing with the help of Red Sox hitting coach Walt Harniak, who taught him to keep his weight back and think about driving the ball up the middle instead of trying to pull it. This was the turning point of his career. "You'll remember this day for the rest of your life," said Yastrzemski, who had observed the proceedings with Gammons despite the 101-degree heat. Evans hit 316, 413, 588 with 13 homers the rest of the way, and his career took off. During the strike-shortened 1981 season, he shared the AL lead with 22 homers, hits 85, walks, and 6.7 WAR. Both led the circuit, while his 415 on base percentage and his 163 OPS plus both ranked second. His 522 slugging percentage third, a performance that garnered him a third place finish in the AL MVP voting behind Rollie Fingers and Rickey Henderson. He followed that up with another exceptional season in which his .402 on-base percentage led the league, his 112 walks ranked second, his 149 OPS plus third, his 6.4 WAR and 32 homers both fifth, and his .534 slugging percentage sixth. Evans' 13.1 WAR from 1981 to 1982 trailed only Robin Yount (15.4), Andre Dawson (15.3), and Mike Schmidt (15.1), and Henderson (13.4). Somehow, though, he missed the All-Star team in the latter year and wouldn't make it one again until 1987, despite hitting a combined 266, 372, 477, 128 OPS plus, while averaging 27 homers and 3.8 WAR and winning Gold Gloves annually from 1981 to 1985. Though his 1983 season was something of a dud, 106 OPS plus 1.2 WAR. Due to a groin strain and a prolonged slump, he rebounded strongly in 1984. His 147 OPS plus ranked fourth in the league and first of two times in this stretch that he would crack the top five. In 1986, typically a strong season, 26 homers, 131 OPS plus, 4.4 WAR. Evans helped the Red Sox reach the World Series for the first time since 1975. He went just 6 for 28 in the ALCS against the Angels with a home run after the Red Sox had already taken a 7-0 lead in Game 7, but was much better in the World Series against the Mets. 308, 400, 615, with a series high 9 RBI. He homered off Doc Gooden in the team's Game 2 victory and hit an RBI single off him in Game 5 as well. He had 2 RBI in a losing cause in Game 6, the Bill Buckner game. Oh, you have to remind me of that, jerk. Anyway, and 3 in the Game 7 via a second inning solo homer off Ron Darling for the game's first run, and then a 2-run double off Roger McDowell in the 8th inning that trimmed the lead to 6-5. The last runs the Red Sox would score. Alas, they went down in defeat. Again, thank you very much for reminding me about that. Still trying to forget part of my bad childhood memory there. Anyway, though Evans' defense in 1986 was estimated to be 8 runs above average, the reality is that his work in the outfield was in decline, minus 8 runs from 1983 to 86, with the arrivals of Mike Greenwell, who actually debuted in 1985, and Todd Benzinger. He spent most of the second half of 1987 playing first base, that after making just his third All-Star team. Indeed, he set across the board career bests with a 305, 417, 569 line, 34 homers, and 123 RBI, en route to a solid 4.8 WAR, his best showing since 1983. The first base experiment continued into mid 1988, but Evans never took to the position. Total Zone says he was a whopping 15 runs below average in just 143 games there across 2 seasons, compared to -3 in 161 games in right field. His bat remained potent. Evans managed a 136 OPS plus in both 1988 and 1989 with a combined 41 homers, 211 RBI, and 7.0 WAR. The Sox won the AL East in the former season but bowed to the A's in the ALCS. Back problems limited him to DH duty in 1990. His age, 38 campaign, and while he was a part of one more AL East championship squad, performance deteriorated. He parted ways with the Red Sox following the year and was quickly picked up by the Orioles, with whom he spent one more year plus spring. He retired upon being released in March 1992. When Evans retired in 1991, he ranked 29th all-time in home runs, one notch ahead of Rice, whose career ended 2 years earlier. Similarly, he ranked 38th in hits, one notch below Rice, 2,452. To be fair, the latter had 1,511 fewer plate appearances, but the larger point is that those career totals stood out at least somewhat. That was still the case when Evans hit the 1997 ballot alongside Dave Parker, who had more hits, 2,712, but fewer homers, 339, than Evans, but had won two batting titles, two World Series, and an MVP award. On a ballot dominated by holdovers, fifth-year candidate Phil Niekro was elected, and fourth-year candidate Don Sutton came close. Parker just got 17.5%, and Evans barely made the cutoff with just 5.9%. He improved to 10.4% the following year, but fell off after just getting 3.6% in 1999. This is not that surprising in retrospect, given how unheralded Evans was. His 70 on the Hall of Fame monitor, which measures how likely but not how deserving a player is to be elected by awarding points for various honors, league leads, postseason performance, and other things that tend to catch voters' eyes, is well below a good possibility. Even his big offensive seasons in terms of Triple Crown numbers tended to go unrewarded in the All-Star process, and his six top 10 finishes in on-base percentage were obscured by his hitting 300 or better just once. Evans was a late bloomer offensively, hitting a modest 262, 344, 448, 114 OPS plus through 1980, his age 28 season, but 278, 385, 484, 135 OPS plus thereafter, declining phase and all. Over the latter stretch, only 8 players had a higher OPS plus in at least 4,000 plate appearances, while numerous Hall of Famers, Dave Winfield, Tim Raines, Robin Yount, Tony Gwynn, Andre Dawson, Paul Molitor, Harold Baines, Koff, and Kirby Puckett and Rice were lower. Even taking full careers into account, Evans' 127 OPS plus is 1 point below Rice, equal to Henderson and ahead of Kirby Puckett, 124, Raines, 123, Molitor, 122, Baines, 121, Dawson, 117, Fisk, that'd be Carlton Fisk, 117, Gary Carter, 115, Ryan Sandberg, 114, Alan Trammell, 110, and Ozzie Smith, 87, the enshrined contemporaries with whom his career overlaps significantly. Yes, some of those players played more difficult positions, but that's the point of turning to advanced stats. Even with his defensive decline, Evans' finish was 66 runs above average according to Total Zone and total that ranks 17th among players who spent the majority of their careers in right field. His 67.1 career WAR is tied with Andre Dawson for 25th among players in the 1961-1992 period. Between the first wave of expansion and the rapidly changing landscape of the mid-1990s, he's fourth among non-Hall of Famers from that stretch behind the banned for life Pete Rose, 79.7, Bobby Grich, 71.1, and Greg Nettles, 68.0, and zero point 0.1 ahead of Lou Whitaker. Oh, and he's a country mile ahead of Jim Rice, 47.7, who was elected in 2009, his final year of eligibility. Among right fielders, Evans ranks 14th in career WAR, 4.4 wins below the standard and 2.1 below Tony Gwynn, but still ahead of 15 of the 26 Hall of Famers, including Baseball Writers of Association of America honorees Dave Winfield, 64.2, and Vladimir Guerrero, 59.4, as well as current BBWAA candidates Gary Sheffield, 60.5, Bobby Abreu, 60.0, and Sammy Sosa, 58.6, and fellow modern baseball candidate Parker, 40.1. That's pretty impressive, much more so than his number 29 ranking in peak, 4.8 WAR below the standard, behind all of the players in that last sentence and ahead of just 11 Hall of Famers. For all of his prowess on both sides of the ball, he had just 2 seasons among the American League's top 10 in WAR and 4 above 5.0 WAR, mainly because by the time he became an outstanding hitter, his defense had regressed. From 1972 to 1980, he was 67 runs above average with the bat and 90 above average with the glove, while from 1981 onward, he was 286 above average offensively, but 24 below average defensively. One thing worth considering, given the contours of Evans' career, was that he played a good portion of it while quietly dealing with trying, even heartbreaking conditions off the field. His oldest son, Tim, born in 1973, was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis, elephant man's disease, a genetic disorder often characterized by benign but painful tumors on or under the skin. At age 2, from 1975 to 1978, he endured 10 surgeries, a number that grew to 16 by the time he turned 16. The disease cost him the sight in his left eye and sustained significant emotional damage from being teased by other children. Evans' youngest child, Justin, who was born in 1976, was diagnosed with the disease in 1982 via a tumor at the base of his brain that required radiation treatment, and by the age of 10 he had developed another one around his spine, which was removed via a 12-hour surgery in 1989. Their problems, which kept Evans from public view until the mid 1980s, took their toll from a relatively early point in his career as he shuttled from hospital to ballpark. We talked some about his kids. Yastrzemski told Sports Illustrated in 1985, "He used to tell me that he knew that to play this game you had to be 100% mentally at the ballpark, but how do you do that when your kids are in the hospital?" Overall, Evans is 15th in JAWS, 4.6 points below the standard, but ahead of 14 of 26 Hall of Famers, again including Winfield and Guerrero, without a significant amount of what if. What if he wasn't burdened by his children's health problems, didn't battle concussion woes, played on a World Series winner, or simply had his best offensive and defensive years aligned? I'm not thoroughly convinced he's a Hall of Famer, but then again, I'm not convinced he isn't. I do know that on a modern baseball ballot where 2 of my 4 slots would go to Whitaker and Ted Simmons, and where I'm in favor of Thurman Munson as well, I'm running out of room. The question still remains as to how to handle the candidacy of Marvin Miller, the lone candidate remaining in my series, and one who damn well should be in the Hall of Fame, except that his family is dead set against his being honored posthumously. That's a topic for another day. For now, I'd call Evans a possible yes, with hope that he remains in circulation. So I haven't seen Dwight Evans in a couple of years. I used to see him quite often, in fact. Very nice guy, very humble guy, very quiet guy, in fact. I would put him in the Hall of Fame, but I am biased, of course, just because I did get to see him play, and I know about his situation off the field, and that actually makes him a Hall of Famer in my book. He's got to be in some kind of Hall of Fame there. I don't care what anybody says. Having one child with that condition is hard enough. Having two children with that condition is exceptionally difficult. I can't even imagine what he must have gone through, or his children, in fact. I really commend Dwight Evans for everything that he's done on and off the field. I actually saw him gunned down a player at home plate when he was in the outfield. That arm of his was a true cannon, and he got this guy out. This thing just sailed, and he did that routinely. I think he's got one of the best arms in the game, and probably one of the best arms that anyone has ever seen. Pedro Guerrero as well. I've heard that he had an absolutely cannon for an arm. So I again, I really wanted to pick up a couple of his cards, and I was really happy that I did find this card, and it can be actually quite expensive, considering he is not in the Hall of Fame, but it is it's a high number card. This is card number 614 in the 1973 tops, and it is quite nice actually, despite it being kind of bland. Again, I'm not a big fan of the 1974 tops. I think tops did a very lazy job this year, but somebody's got to like this set. It's just not me, but I really wanted a couple of cards of uh, Dwight Evans in my collection. And as I said, I have a 1975 tops as well, but I'm gonna talk about that in a future video on something a little bit different. Again, guys, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about Dwight Evans and his career. Personally, I think he got better as he got older, and that is kind of a rarity in baseball. Usually, when a ball player turns about 35, 36, his skills start to go down. I really did think that Dwight Evans had a better second half of his career, and the entire time he had some monumental issues going on off the field. And I also think too that if he was on any other ball club, he'd probably be in the Hall of Fame right now, especially on the Yankees or maybe even the Reds. What I also find kind of interesting too is Jim Rice being in the Hall of Fame. He got in 2009. I saw Jim Rice play quite a bit. I never thought he was a Hall of Famer. Fred Lynn, I never got to see play. He went to California. If Fred Lynn actually stayed in Boston, he'd be in the Hall of Fame as well. So the Red Sox are a really interesting team historically. From what I remember growing up, management on the Red Sox was god awful. It was really bad. You had a series of owners. Basically, you had Gene Yawkey, who owned the Red Sox after Tom Yawkey had passed away in '76. She kind of had other people help her out along the way. This guy Harrington, he kind of became the de facto owner of the team. You also had a former catcher, Haywood Sullivan, as well. And these guys, they may have been in baseball for a long time, but they were very cheap. They're very, very cheap. Um, this was not a good time to be a Red Sox fan, obviously, in the 1980s. Actually, I would say from like 1918 to 2004. But I mean, we do now have several championships under our belt, which I never thought would actually occur in my lifetime because they didn't in my father's lifetime or my grandmother's lifetime. So again, the Red Sox, um, like every other team, you do have really bad management, and the Red Sox just had really bad management for 86 years, and kind of continuing now. I think Red Sox have not the greatest management in the world. They try, but every team is like that too, to a certain extent. Even the Yankees, of all teams. But anyway, guys, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about Dwight Evans. Personally, for me, I already think he's a Hall of Famer. He's definitely a Hall of Famer here, and he's a really good guy. And I really do wish he was in the Hall of Fame. But if he's not, he's still going to be in my Hall of Fame. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. And until the next one, I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.